Very good afternoon, students. In the previous session, we have completed alkalinity of water and purification technique by using ion exchange method. So, in determination of alkalinity of water sample, we found temporary alkalinity and caustic alkalinity separately by using two indicators, that is methyl orange indicator and the phenolphthalein indicator. So here phenolphthalein indicator is indicating complete neutralization of hydroxyl ions and the half neutralization of carbonate. But whereas methyl orange endpoint is indicating remaining half neutralization of carbonate and complete neutralization of bicarbonate, because we are adding methyl orange after completion of hydroxyl and the half carbonate. But methyl orange is using to find all three ions at a time in the solution. But our aim is to find carbonate alkalinity separately and the bicarbonate alkalinity separately. So we are using two indicators. One is the phenolphthalein indicator and the methyl orange indicator. Yes. So that was alkalinity of water sample. And the next topic was ion exchange method. In ion exchange method, we can exchange all hardness causing ions in the water sample. That is, all the cations and all the anions in the water sample by using cation exchange resin and the anion exchange resin. Cation exchange resin is exchanging all the cations in the water sample. Anion exchange resin is exchanging all the anions in the water sample. So by exchanging cations and the anions, the resins are releasing free H plus and OH minus ions. These H plus and OH minus ions are combined to produce deionized water or the demineralized water. So for civil students, you don't have the alkalinity of water sample, but just for understanding and while doing the experiment in the chemistry lab, you must know how to determine the alkalinity of water sample. So that's the reason I explained you alkalinity also, but that is not part of our syllabus. And in this session also, I'm going to explain the purification of water by using reverse osmosis process and geolite process. So these all are external treatments. So we have seen in the regular classes, this is the revision class, but in the regular classes already we have seen how many types of techniques do we have. So how many types of techniques do we have? We are having the two types of techniques. One is the internal technique and the external technique. That is the internal treatment and the external treatment. So in internal treatment, we are having the Calgon treatment and the colloidal conditioning. But whereas in the external treatment, we are having the three techniques. One is the reverse osmosis process, ion exchange method and the geolite process. So already we have seen the ion exchange process in the previous class. So today I am going to explain the reverse osmosis process and the geolite process. So we know in the domestic purpose we are using the RO purifiers. So there RO is nothing but the reverse osmosis technique. So whatever the purifiers we are using at home which involves RO technique, RO principle, that is the reverse osmosis principle. So here reverse osmosis is the reverse process of osmosis. So here osmosis is the spontaneous process which is the natural process. But whereas the reverse osmosis process is non-spontaneous process. Non-spontaneous process is nothing but the process which we are doing, which is not doing by nature. Naturally it is not occurring. That is called the non-spontaneous process. So here reverse osmosis process is the non-spontaneous process and which is the irreversible process. It is not the reversible process and it is a irreversible process. And in reverse osmosis process, we are applying the external force. First let us see what is meant by the osmosis. Osmosis is nothing but when two solutions of unequal concentrations are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, the flow of solvent particle takes place from dilute to concentration side. So what is the reverse osmosis process? What is the osmosis process? Osmosis is nothing but the solvent particles are transferred from the dilute solution to concentrated solution. But when this process will be done? When the two different solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. So different concentration is nothing but one side low concentrated solution and other side high concentrated solution. These two solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. But what is the use of semi-permeable membrane? The semi-permeable membrane is allowing the solvent particles from low concentration solution to high concentration solution. Yes, so that is called the osmosis process. But reverse osmosis process is nothing but when we are applying the pressure opposite side, the reverse osmosis process occurs. So what we are doing? We are applying the pressure at the opposite side. What happens generally in the osmosis? In osmosis, solvent particles are transferred from low concentration solution to high concentration. But here, the solvent never transfer from high concentration solution to low concentration solution. For transferring the solvent from high concentration to low concentration, what we are doing? We are applying the pressure at the high concentration solution. So when we apply the pressure at the high concentration solution, the reverse osmosis will be takes place. That means the solvent will transfer from high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution. That is a reverse osmosis process. So like that, we can get highly purified water from the seawater. So we know the seawater is highly impure water and it is highly concentrated solution. Whereas the pure water is a low concentration solution. But what is the reverse osmosis? The solvent particles will transfer from high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution. Here high concentrated solution is the seawater and the low concentrated solution is the pure water. So what happens here? The solvent is nothing but in seawater, it is having the impurities along with the pure water. It is the mixture of pure water and the impurities. So here impurities are nothing but the solute and the pure water is nothing but the solvent. But what is transferring from the high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution? Only the solvent. So what is the solvent here? Pure water is the solvent. So here pure water is transfer from the high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution. So see here what is the reverse osmosis. If however a hydrostatic pressure in excess of osmotic pressure is applied on the concentrated side, the solvent flow reverses. That is, solvent is forced to move from concentrated side to diluted side across the membrane. This is the principle of reverse osmosis process. So what we are doing? We are applying a hydrostatic pressure which is more than the osmotic pressure, which we are applying at the concentrated side. Then what happened? The solvent particles will be transferred from concentrated solution to diluted solution. That is called the reverse osmosis process. So thus in reverse osmosis process methods, pure water is separated from its contaminants. So contaminants are nothing but the impurities. We are separating impurities and the pure water rather than removing contaminants from the water. So instead of removing contaminants, we are separating the contaminants by using the reverse osmosis process. So this membrane filtration is sometimes also called as the superfiltration or the hyperfiltration process. So this method is also called as the hyperfiltration process or the superfiltration process. So let us see diagrammatically. First let us see what is the method. In this process, a pressure of 15 to 40 kg per centimeter square is applied to the seawater or the impure water to force its pure water out through the semi-permeable membrane. So what we are doing? We are applying the pressure. How much pressure we are applying? We are applying around 15 to 40 kg per centimeter square pressure is applying on the seawater. But what is seawater? Seawater is the mixture of impurities and the pure water. Here impurities are nothing but the contaminants and the pure water. But here pure water is the solvent and the impurities are the solute. So when we are applying this pressure, only the impurities are settled down at the top of the semi-permeable membrane and the pure water is transferred from the high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution. So like that we can remove all the impurities, we can separate all the impurities and we can collect the pure water. Now this is the outlet to collect the pure water. So leaving behind the dissolved solids. Dissolved solids are nothing but the contaminants are the impurities. So now the membrane consists of very thin film of cellulose acetate affixed to either side of a perforated tube. So here we are using the semi-permeable membrane here. This is a semi-permeable membrane. This semi-permeable membrane is made of cellulose acetate. And however, more recently superior membranes are made of polymethacrylate or polyamide polymers have come into use. So in previously we are using cellulose acetate to prepare the thin films of the semi-permeable membrane. But nowadays we are using polymethacrylate or polyamides to prepare the semi-permeable membrane because these are more effective than the cellulose acetate. So we are using these chemicals to prepare the semi-permeable membrane. So now let us see what are the advantages. A reverse osmosis process is a distinct advantage of removing ions as well as non-ionic, colloidal and high molecular weight organic matter. So we said now we are separating the contaminants. Those contaminants may be ionic contaminants, are the non-ionic contaminants, are the colloidal contaminants, are high molecular weight organic matter also. Here we can remove all these impurities by using the reverse osmosis process. It removes colloidal silica which is not removed by the demineralization process. What is the demineralization process? Ion exchange method. It is one of the drawback of ion exchange method, but that we can overcome by using the reverse osmosis process. So in the reverse osmosis process, we can also remove the colloidal silica which we can't remove by the demineralization process. The maintenance cost is almost entirely on the replacement of the semi-permeable membrane. So here there is no maintenance cost. The maintenance cost is only depending on the replacement of the semi-permeable membrane. But the lifetime of membrane is quite high, about 2 years. So here the semi-permeable membrane cost is around 2 years. The membrane can be replaced within a few minutes, there providing uninterrupted water supply. So we can remove the semi-permeable membrane, we can replace very easily. Due to low capital cost, simplicity, low operating cost and high reliability, the reverse osmosis is gaining ground at present for converting seawater into drinking water and for obtaining water for very high pressure boilers also. So we are because of the simplicity and low operating cost and high reliability, here this technique is also using in the high pressure boilers because we can easily convert the seawater into pure water. So we are using this technique also in the high pressure boilers. So the next technique is the geolite process. A geolite process is similar to the ion exchange method. So what we are doing in the ion exchange method? In ion exchange method, we are exchanging all hardness causing ions. So the resin which we are using in the ion exchange method is exchanging all hardness causing ions. So there all hardness causing ions means all the cations and all the anions in the water sample. But whereas in the zeolite process, we can remove only the cations, we can't remove the anions by using the zeolite process. Yes? So let us see what is the zeolite process. But before going to see the zeolite process, let us see what is zeolite. Zeolite is hydrated sodium aluminosilicate. So that is the chemical name of the zeolite is hydrated sodium aluminosilicate. Zeolites are also known as the permutites. Zeolite is capable of exchanging reversibly its sodium ions for hardness producing ions in the water. So what is the charge of sodium ions? Sodium ions are having the positive charge. So what we are seeing, the zeolite process is capable of exchanging reversibly its sodium ions only. That means it is exchanging only the cations in the water sample. The chemical structure, that means the chemical formula of zeolite is Na2O3, Na2O, Al2O3, XSiO2, YH2O. This is the chemical formula of zeolite, Na2O, Al2O3, XSiO2, YH2O. Where X is 2 to 10, Y is equals to 2 to 6. Yes, this is the general formula of zeolite or the permutite. Let us see the types of zeolites. So there are two types of zeolites based on the occurrence. One is a natural zeolite and another one is a synthetic zeolite. Natural zeolite is a non-porous, that means it is not having any pores. But whereas a synthetic zeolite is having the porous and get structure. So because of the pores, it is having the particular structure. And the example or the formula of natural zeolite is Na2O, Al2O3, XSiO2, YH2O. This is also called as the natrolite. This is the chemical name of the natural zeolite. And the synthetic zeolite, which is having the porous structure and it is having the particular structure. And they are preparing by heating together china clay, feldspar and the soda ash. So by mixing all these and by heating this mixture, we can get the synthetic zeolite. So here, how we are preparing the synthetic zeolite? By heating together china clay, feldspar and the soda ash. Such zeolites possess higher exchanging capacity per unit weight than natural zeolite. So it is having the more exchanging capacity than the natural zeolite. And let us see what is the process of the zeolite process. For softening of water by zeolite process, hard water is percolated at a specific rate through a bed of zeolite kept in a cylinder. So for softening of water by zeolite process, what we are doing, initially we are passing the hard water through a zeolite bed. So that structure is called the zeolite bed here. So what we are doing, initially we are passing the hard water through the zeolite bed. This zeolite bed is placing in the cylinder. The hardness causing ions are calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2 are retained by the zeolite as calcium zeolite and the magnesium zeolite. So when we are passing the hard water through the zeolite bed, the hard water is having the calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2 ions. These calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2 ions are exchanging with the sodium ions in the zeolite. So when the sodium is replacing with the calcium, we will get the calcium zeolite in the place of sodium zeolite and also magnesium zeolite in the place of sodium zeolite. So the sodium zeolite is converted to calcium zeolite and the magnesium zeolite gradually. So while the outgoing water contains sodium salts, because the sodium ions only exchanging with the calcium and magnesium in the water sample. So these ions in the water samples are replaced with the sodium ions. So the water which we are getting from outside, that water is having the sodium ions. So this is the cylindrical tower of the zeolite method. This is the zeolite container. This is the inlet and this is also inlet. Through this inlet, we are passing the hard water sample, and this is the inlet for passing the brine solution. The brine solution is nothing but the sodium chloride solution, and this is the zeolite bed, and this is the outlet for the soft water, and this is the outlet for the waste water, that means the impure water. So initially hard water is passing through the zeolite bed. So when we are passing through the zeolite bed, we will get the calcium zeolite and the magnesium zeolite at the zeolite bed, and the water which we are getting from the outside, that is having the sodium ions. So that water is the soft water here. Yes. And this is the waste water, that means the impure water is removing from this outlet. So I'll explain you this in the regeneration process, why we are passing the brine solution into this inlet. So first let us see what are the reactions takes place at the zeolite process. This is sodium zeolite, simply we are mentioning Na2Ze plus calcium bicarbonate giving rise to. These two sodiums are replacing with one calcium. So we will get the calcium zeolite, and these sodiums, these two bicarbonates are converted to sodium bicarbonate. And also the sodium zeolite also replacing the magnesium ion. So sodium ions are replacing with the magnesium ions. So we will get magnesium zeolite plus sodium bicarbonate. So this is the regeneration process, not regeneration process, this is another reaction. Here also the calcium ions and the magnesium ions are replacing with the sodium ions. Yes. So here the calcium ions are replacing with the sodium, and magnesium ions also replacing with the sodium to produce calcium zeolite and the magnesium zeolite. But at one of the point, the entire zeolite, this zeolite previously having the only sodium ions, but this sodium is completely replacing with the calcium and magnesium at one of the point. At one of the point, the entire sodium ions are replacing with calcium and the magnesium. So when we pass hard water through this zeolite, we will not get the soft water because the efficiency of the zeolite is decreasing. It will be exhausting at one of the point because there are no sodium ions for replacing calcium and the magnesium. So we can't pass the hard water through the zeolite for the purification. That means at one of the point, the entire sodium ions are replacing with the calcium and magnesium. So that's the reason we are doing the regeneration. That means again this zeolite is recycling by passing the sodium chloride solution. This sodium chloride solution is the brine solution. So that we will see in the regeneration process. After some time, the zeolite is completely converted into calcium and magnesium zeolite, and it causes to soften of water, that is it gets exhausted. At this age, the supply of hard water is stopped and the exhausted zeolite is reclaimed by treating the bed with a concentrated brine solution. So how we are regenerating? By passing the brine solution. So what we got at the zeolite bed? Calcium zeolite and the magnesium zeolite. How we are regenerating? By passing the brine solution, that is sodium chloride. Now the reverse reaction will be takes place. That means calcium is replacing with the sodium. So we will get Na2Ze. So here we will get CaCl2, MgCl2. That means calcium chloride and magnesium chloride. So this calcium chloride and magnesium chloride are removing by the washing process. That means by washing continuously the zeolite bed, we can remove calcium chloride and the magnesium chloride. So like that we can collect sodium zeolite, fresh sodium zeolite. This is the regeneration process. So now let us see what are the limitations, advantages and the disadvantages. If the supply of water is turbid, that means if it is having the more mud particles, the suspended matter must be removed before the water is admitted to the zeolite bed. That means before passing the water through the zeolite bed, we need to remove all the turbidity in the water. Otherwise, the turbidity will clog the process of zeolite bed, thereby making it inactive. Because whatever the zeolite we are using, that is having the pores. Through these pores, all the turbidity is strucking and it is holding all the turbid impurities, and it is not working. It is not active when we are passing the water because all the holes are closed due to strucking the turbidity impurities in the holes. So before that, we need to purify that water, or we need to remove the turbidity in the water sample before placing the zeolite bed. If water contains large quantity of colored ions such as manganese and iron, they must be removed first, because these ions produced manganese and iron zeolite which cannot be easily regenerated. So here, when the water sample is having some color impurities like manganese and the iron, initially we need to remove the manganese and iron, because these manganese and irons are forming the manganese zeolite and the iron zeolite, but this manganese zeolite and the iron zeolite cannot be regenerated easily. Mineral acids, if present in water, destroy the zeolite bed, and therefore they must be neutralized with soda before admitting the water to the zeolite softening plant. So now let us see the advantages. It removes the hardness almost completely, and water of about 10 ppm hardness is produced. The equipment used is compact, occupying a small space. No impurities are precipitated, so there is no danger of sludge formation in the treated water at a later stage. The process automatically adjusts itself for variation in hardness of incoming water. It is quite clean. It requires less time for softening. It requires less skill for maintenances as well as operation. So let us see finally the disadvantages of the zeolite process. The treated water contains more sodium and sodium salts than in lime soda process. So whatever the outlet water, whatever the water which we are getting, that water is having the sodium and sodium salts. The method only replaces calcium and magnesium ions but leaves all the acidic ions. That means it is not removing the bicarbonate and the carbonate. That means it is not removing the anions. It is removing only the cations in the water sample, as such in the softened water. When such softened water is used in boilers for steam generation, sodium bicarbonate decomposes, producing carbon dioxide. Because this bicarbonate is converts to sodium bicarbonate in the steam generation boilers. So that sodium bicarbonate is decomposing to carbon dioxide, which causes corrosion. So, and sodium carbonate hydrolysis to sodium hydroxide, which causes casting embrittlement. So, I will explain you later what is mean by the castic embrittlement. So, due to formation of the sodium hydroxide, which causes this castic embrittlement. High turbidity water cannot be treated efficiently by this method, because fine impurities get deposited on the zeolite bed, thereby reacting problem for its working. That means it will be inactive when the water is having the turbidity. Thank you so much, ma'am. So with this we have completed the external treatment. In the next class, so let us see the boiler troubles and also internal treatment. Thank you so much.